Google recommendations, do they work? Will they increase sales and ROI, or will they just increase spend? You've seen the optimization score, that big blue percentage score next to the campaign name. Maybe it says 52%. You click it and suddenly Google is telling you exactly how to fix a campaign. If you're like most advertisers, you've probably been tempted to hit that button or even follow Google's telephone support team's advice. But here's the truth. Most advertisers never hear this. You can apply every single recommendation that Google gives you. You can hit the 100% score and it will still lose money. It's insane that Google gets away with this. You can even dismiss every recommendation and you will still get a 100% score. It's an absolute con. A week or so ago, I was sitting on the balcony of this fantastic hotel, the Grand Hotel Miramar in Malaga. And as the sun rose, what appears on the horizon were the founders of Google's yacht. It was Sergey Brin's. I couldn't believe the size of it. $500 million on a yacht. So clearly the recommendations work for Google, but do they work for you? So today, I'm going to show you which recommendations actually improve your profit and which ones silently increase Google's revenue at your expense. Your job is to make Google work for you, and that's my mission, to make Google work for you. So, in this video, I'm going to go through the one recommendation that is harmless and often is genuinely helpful. I'll cover the recommendations that genuinely wreck your ROI in your account. They're absolute disasters. I'll explain to you why Google Broadcast is so aggressively used and why Google favors it so much. And also, I'll explain to you why auto-applied recommendations are the single most dangerous feature inside a Google Ads account. When I first started managing Google Ads years ago, I lost money. The first thing I did was I stopped following Google's advice. I ignored all their recommendations and I rebuilt my campaign back then from the ground up, and bang, you wouldn't believe it. I achieved unbelievably a 60% saving on my Google Ads by simply not doing what Google told me to do. And I noticed something strange. Accounts that follow Google's advice almost always spent more money, they targeted broader traffic, they had really poor visibility, and they always made less profit. Or more accurately, I'd say they lost money. Meanwhile, when I ignored all their recommendations, performance tended to improve. So I started digging around a little bit more, and what I found out is what I'm about to show you now. And I've broken this down category by category. But first, before you go taking any of my advice, you may be new to the channel, who am I? I'm John Langley. I'm the founder of Click Convert Marketing. Our niche is Google Ads with our perfect repeatable marketing system for Google Ads. And we've generated over 1.5 billion in revenue in the USA and the UK. And I found that our system really works best for people who are already generating revenue, but they feel a bit stuck. They know their business works, but they can't, or you can't quite figure out why Google Ads isn't consistent and it isn't scaling like you expect it to do. I will say though, this system isn't for everybody. I've got a team of 25 Google Ads specialists here, and they work in real accounts every day, so I can bring you what really does work in Google Ads and what doesn't. So as ever, if you find this video useful, please hit the like, subscribe and add a comment. It would really help me out. That'd be great, guys. Thanks very much. And if you'd like an Ads Pro to walk through an account with you so we can explain why it's working, why it's not working, we still do have we're still offering rather a few free reviews every month. But we have developed a bit of a backlog and a bit of a client waiting list at the moment. YouTube's been a lot more popular than I thought it was going to be. There'll be a QR code on the screen and you can scan that, or you can visit clickconvertmarketing.com and you can grab a review there. It's the first step to solving your problems. So let's start with our first recommendation category that Google offered you. It's budgets and bidding. It's really the most dangerous category. Every recommendation in this category benefits Google more than you. The first one they always go on about is use target CPA or use target ROAS. This is extremely dangerous, but Google loves this one. The problem is Google does not know your margins, it doesn't know your break-even point, how accurate your conversions actually are, or even what the lifetime value of your customers are. GA4 is so inaccurate with conversions at the moment, and then what Google wants to do, it wants to take this inaccurate tracking that we're getting from GA4, and then Google wants to add a target CPA on top of these numbers that it's often inflating with GA4. And that leads, it turns into a real recipe for disaster. And in my experience, most advertisers usually see anywhere between a 20% to 60% increase in CPA. The next one they use is they suggest use maximize conversions or maximize conversion value. Again, this is really dangerous. And I would say this is even more riskier than the CPA route. It's troublesome. So maximize conversions does not mean maximize profit. It means spend every penny of your budget in the fastest possible way. But you're probably thinking, doesn't maximize conversions try to get me the most conversions for the budget? Shouldn't that actually mean cheaper CPAs? No, in practice, that's not really what happens inside Google Ads. And the simplest way to understand it is this. Maximize conversions does not try to lower your CPA. It tries to spend the entire budget, even if that means you're paying more for a conversion. It's focused on the budget, it's not focused on the conversion costs. And the real logic behind maximize conversions is spend the full daily budget prioritizing conversions regardless of what the cost per conversion is. It does not reduce your CPA unless that naturally happens. So be really careful. The other one is setting a target CPA when none exists. It's really dangerous. Google does this when it's pretending to be helpful. They'll always almost set a CPA that's too high. So CPA is cost per acquisition. They'll set a cost per acquisition that is too high, or they'll set a really low ROAS. Because if you're setting a low ROAS, that's the same as setting a high CPA. That will immediately destroy your margins. You just totally wipe them out. And let's assume that most of you have got maybe a 30% gross profit. If your CPA, your cost per acquisition, exceeds 30% of your gross profit, then scaling becomes mathematically impossible for you because you're spending all of your margin on Google Ads. But Google doesn't know any of that, okay? It will just try and do what it can by increasing the CPA and lowering the ROASes. They're going to tell you your campaigns are limited by budget. And what they want to do is they want to increase the budget. Again, this is really dangerous. It sounds helpful, but it really isn't. Because it doesn't consider your margin, it doesn't consider the quality of the traffic it's delivering to you, and it certainly does not consider the lifetime value. It's basically just a spending nudge disguised as an optimization. So again, be careful with that one. Google will often recommend that you move budget to one of your constrained campaigns, one that's limited by budget. Again, really dangerous. Google is really just detecting an opportunity, and that opportunity isn't an opportunity for you, it's just an opportunity for Google to put you in more auctions and sell you more clicks. Never forget that Google is in the business of selling you clicks. It's not in the business of selling you sales or leads, it's in selling you clicks. Let's summarize this a little bit. Bidding recommendations are some of the most dangerous recommendations that Google makes inside of Google Ads. They optimize for Google's revenue. They don't optimize for your revenue or your ROI. Okay, let's look at the next category. Keywords and targeting. It's really high risk and it's easy to lose money here. This is where Google expands out your reach and dilutes your traffic quality. And their favorite one here is to go and add broad match keywords. It's a top recommendation and it's really a bit of a cocaine trap. Broad match is Google's favorite recommendation because it unlocks for them 10 times more search audience. But broad match can pull in irrelevant traffic, it can increase your CPCs, it reduces the intent. Remember, we're wanting people in the consideration conversion phase. We're not really after people in the awareness phase. It tries to go and get you awareness traffic, not consideration and converting traffic. So be careful of that one. And too often now, it's hiding search terms behind its AI systems. Broad match gives Google total freedom, and it can often give you total chaos. Don't follow any recommendations for broad match. This links on to our next one, which is to add new keywords in. Google's always saying, hey, we can find you these new keywords, add them in. And Google will pull in competitors' terms, it will bring in similar terms, it will find you high volume terms, but they'll be low intent, they'll be in that awareness phase, they won't be in the conversion phase that you're looking for. It will just drag in this really poor quality traffic. And it's all these cheap keywords that you want to avoid. You understand keywords far better than Google does, so don't fall into this AI trap of just adding in more keywords. Now, this next one is another one. It's called search partners expansion. It's really dangerous. What Google wants to do, it wants to try and expand you out into search partners, and it will do this by getting you traffic from AOL searches, Ask searches, toolbar searches, and random third-party sites. I would never turn this on, but I would review it. I would go and look at your other campaigns and see if you've got any traffic on there that is bringing in traffic from the search partners. And in some cases, I do see that search partners can work, but you've got to go and really carefully review it yourself. You can do it by looking on the main campaign screens. There's a little segment button there. Click the button there and it will show you choose networks, and it will show with search partners. And then you can see in your own data, are search partners converting? The click-through rates will be appallingly low on it, but you can ignore that. The important things to see is, are they converting, and are they converting at the right ROAS and cost for you? And if they are, do turn it on and give it a test. Another favourite suggestion is to add audiences or use optimized targeting. This is really, really dangerous. Optimized targeting means showing your ads to people who didn't search for you. And it's a real silent killer. Google expands your searches into similar profiles, display audiences, users who've got no intent to purchase from you. Be really careful with it. It destroys ROI. Display audience is really dangerous, in my opinion, unless if anything else than for remarketing or sometimes on Performance Max. If you enable this option, it's going to show your ad to people who are not looking for your products or services. But what Google's trying to do is he's trying to distract them away from whatever they're doing at the moment on a website over here and try them, get them to look at your ad. And the costs can just run away here and the conversion rates can be absolutely terrible. It's the same again with the next one that they make a recommendation for, display expansion. Again, really dangerous. This is where Google injects display traffic into your search campaigns. Why would they do that? It's because display ads are really cheap and the clicks are cheap, and it can make it look like you're getting a bigger search volume. But when you do this, you lose the intent. You're looking for people who are considering buying your product or services and then actually go ahead and make a conversion. You lose control, you lose the transparency, and I guarantee you will lose profitability here. I'd avoid this again, as it's just, as I described earlier, it's just distraction advertising. Avoid this one. So let's summarize this. Targeting recommendations are how Google will quietly expand your traffic into areas that you would not normally be willing to buy. And unless you fully test this in a controlled manner, it's going to turn into a bloodbath. So as a general rule of thumb, I'd avoid this. Our third category, ads and assets. Finally, a good category. These genuinely can help. And they normally have a recommendation like add in more assets. That's a pretty good recommendation, because if you have more assets, you're going to occupy more space on the page. Generally, your CTR will be higher and you may get a lower CPC. And overall, that should lead to better performance. And it's one of the only recommendations that they offer with no downside. The only one that could be is if they're saying add call assets in and you don't really want to take calls into the business. But that's a small minor one. The other recommendation, which is a good one, is to improve the responsive search ads. And these mean adding in more headlines, descriptions and variations of descriptions and headlines. And it helps Google test. It's a very safe suggestion and it's a good one. I'm not really personally big in this one, if I'm honest. I like to control headline 1, headline 2, and then lead into the description. I like this old school copywriting method. But, you know, Google trying different combinations, you can't lose out on this one. And I do acknowledge this one does work. Just personally, I'm not a big fan of it. The other good one is adding site links, call outs and snippets. Generally, this is good. It is free real estate on the page, so I definitely recommend this. And these recommendations for ads and assets, they are safe and they are okay to use. Now, our fourth category, repairs and fixes. They're just general housekeeping. These are totally safe and you should pay attention to these recommendations if you see that Google says you need to fix this or you need to repair this. And what I mean by this is they mean fix disapproved assets. Really, really good one. If one of your assets is disapproved, you need to go in and resolve the issue with it. Having disapproved items in your account isn't ideal, so I would go and fix them ASAP. The other recommendation they'll come up with is maybe they'll say there's a problem with your conversion tracking, fix conversion tracking. So if you're getting this warning, it's a serious issue. After all, you are investing money without knowing if you're getting a return because the conversion tracking isn't working. So it always make sure your conversion tracking is working and accurate. I've said many times before, we use an item of software here, our in-house software called Conversion Hound, when we're using Google Analytics, because I believe Google Analytics has become too unreliable for conversion tracking. It's not that the actual dashboard is unreliable, it's the actual conversion tracking is unreliable. So we use Conversion Hound to feed into Google Analytics, and it's a great tool for reporting and really improving the quality of GA4. So really nail down on any conversion tracking issues. The other one is, it's a pretty harmless one, but it's good maintenance, is removing any redundant keywords. There's no downside to the recommendation, and it's good hygiene. It makes the account easier to manage. You can see what's going on. You're not getting lost in piles of keywords. Another one that's really important is fixing disapproved products from the shopping feed. It's a really, really good one there. You must jump on this. If your products aren't approved, then they can't be shown and you can't sell the products, can you? It's pretty obvious. So really pay close attention to any disapproved products in the Merchant Center or in the Optimization Center. Okay, now we're into the real danger zone, the auto-applied recommendations. I would say this is the single most dangerous feature in Google Ads. Auto-applied recommendations mean that Google is going to make changes to your campaign without your approval. They can add in broad match, they can change the bids, they can expand your audiences, increase your budgets, replace your headlines, add keywords, remove keywords, change the match types of your keywords, even rewrite your ads. And it's catastrophic. 99% of advertisers don't even realize this has been turned on. Go and look and turn this off immediately. If you get nothing else out of this video, turn off auto recommendations. So I hope this has cleared up the optimization score myth a bit, and also some of the recommendations they're going to make you when Google's teams call you up. Remember, those Google teams that call you up and say, hey, I'm calling from Google, they don't actually work from Google. They're outsourced to some companies like I think they're called Telemetrics or Regex. They're not actually Google themselves. They are rewarded. They get a cut of the increased revenue and they get you to spend more money. So be really, really careful when a Google rep calls you up, unless you've called them for technical advice. If they're inbound calling you, then I'd be really careful around that. So let's summarize this. Optimization score is not quality score. It's not a performance indicator, and it's not correlated to any way at all with your profit. You getting a higher score isn't going to affect your profitability. The truth is, the optimization score is just how compliant your account structure is with Google's preferred setup, the one that's going to make them the most money. And I've said before, you can still hit 100% score by applying everything that they recommend, or just by dismissing all the recommendations. Just go in, dismiss the recommendations, and you'll still get 100% quality score. And that really should tell you everything you need to know. It's just a sales tool for Google to get you to spend more. That's why Nathan was so disappointed in Google's reps and Google's optimization score. So if you're struggling with any of these issues or any other Google Ads issues, we at ClickConvert are always here. You can take a free review with us, and I genuinely know it will be eye-opening for you, and you can see what's happening really in your account, and we can point you in the right directions. There'll be a QR code on the screen. You can scan that, or just visit clickconvertmarketing.com to book in a free review. And don't forget to click the like, subscribe, and comment button.